Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric with American Business Systems. Just wanting to tell you thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to try to open up there we go, my participants audience here. I'm going to get that up over there, and I'm going to get my Q&A box up over here. Looks like we got a wonderful crowd this afternoon on this Wednesday afternoon, moving a few things around on my screen. Folks, you're in for a real treat. Remember, I told you a couple of weeks ago that I was going to have Dr. Vicki Rackner on, and here we are at the beginning of February. Can y'all believe it is February already? It's amazing how quickly just January has gone through. But we've made it through the first part of the year. Again, for those that haven't been able to say this again, Happy New Year to everybody. And I hope that you're looking forward of getting started in some type of business this year. I believe this is going to be an incredible year for anybody to start a business. But we also are kind of biased to this particular one. We've been around for over 30 years here at American Business Systems, and it's a real treat to be able to spend the afternoon with you. We're going to talk about today, start your own medical billing business, an interview with Dr. Vicki Rackner. So this is going to be a little bit different type of webinar. We're not going to go through a whole lot of slides all the time. I'm going to show a couple of slides here and there, but really just want to have a conversation with you and then give you, as the audience, an opportunity to ask questions to Dr. Vicki Rackner and myself this afternoon, and we will get that started here just in a moment. But let me ask everybody, if you don't mind, just go ahead and typing find the Q&A box, typing in where you're calling in from. I would appreciate that, and that would be very helpful for a couple of reasons. I want to make sure that you're hearing me okay. It shows on my little microphone that it's going up and down, so it looks like it's coming through there, but I also want you to make sure that you know where to ask your questions. So we've got some folks here from California to Italy to Oregon to Chicago. No kidding. I mean, we've got somebody here from Italy. So uh, good to see everybody here this afternoon. Let's see who else we've got. North Carolina, Winter Haven, Florida, Virginia, Massachusetts. Man, we're just all over the world. I was just telling Dr. Vicki Rackner, I had an incredible opportunity last week. Hopefully you were here last week with Adam and Jason last week. I kind of took a little bit of time off and spent some time in Kenya, Africa, doing some medical mission stuff out there. So it was pretty cool. So folks, we're global here. We just, call us to where we need to be and we'll be there. And so that's pretty awesome. Again, my name is Eric Ogier. I'll be your host for this afternoon. And again, we're going to be talking with Dr. Vicki Rackner. But before we do that, let me do a couple of little introductions of who we are and what we do here at American Business Systems. If you haven't met Adam Phillips, Adam is our CEO. Some of you may be talking with Adam here at ABS, but he has done some co-authoring work with Dr. Rackner already on a book called 9 Ways Doctors Let Money Slip Through Their Fingers. We're going to talk a little bit about that this afternoon. He has also authored some magazine articles that you can find in the BC. This is the Billing and Coding magazine. It comes out, I think, twice a month. So you can go see about that. If you don't have a copy of this, you might want to get back with the sales rep that you're working with here at American Business Systems, and I bet you we can get you a PDF copy of that. So you might want to get that down. Also, Adam is the founder of an organization called MIRMA. MIRMA is the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. You will automatically be a part of this group once you've completed your training. MIRMA is the one that actually offers your certification as a certified medical revenue manager. And so, again, if you haven't checked out either one of those places, or at least MIRMA yet, you might want to go do that. Let's see who else we have here. Got folks from the Toledo, Ohio area. And friend of mine here, Nevin, says, glad you made it back. And yes, Africa. Wow. I tell you, the biggest part of that was the trip home. Man, it was a long airline flight. So, but I'm back here and ready to go. Let me introduce you to our guest this afternoon. Dr. Vicki Rackner has been all over the place herself. She's been featured on all these different places, whether it's been a magazine or an interview of some sort, been Women's Day, and she can see all of this, CNN, NPR. She's been around. She's written several other books, and you can see that one, 9 Ways Doctors Let Money Slip Through the Finger. And then the other one that's one of, I think, one of the ones that really kind of launched her and everything that she's doing is The Myth of the Rich Doctor. We'll talk a little bit about that, why she wrote that book. She's been featured in the Medical Practice Management Journal there. You can see there and on some other places. And so this lady gets around. She's well known throughout the United States. And more importantly, she knows us. That's what's so awesome. So, Dr. Rackner, it's good to see you. If you want to pop on here with your video, we're so excited for you to be here. I understand that you were living in one place and now you're living on in another place. So it's just the last time we spoke.
Right, exactly. So my ancestral homeland is Minnesota, home of
Yep.
Bob Dylan. And for the past 30 or so years, I've been living in Seattle. So I'm back in Seattle and delighted to be here, even though it's snowing right now.
That's awesome. Well, I know that you and were talking earlier, and you really kind of want to just take this as an opportunity for you to kind of just do uh, just kind of share with us really what's going on with the with practices are going on. But before we get that started here, and I mentioned here that you wrote the book, The Myth of the Rich Doctor. I want you to take a little bit of time, tell us your background, what you did, what kind of doctor you were, what led you to write this book, and then kind of where we are today.
All right. So this is a twisty, turny story. I was actually in a graduate program when one night I fainted on my way to the bathroom. I was taken by ambulance to a hospital where I was bleeding internally.
Hmm.
And I was taken emergently to the operating room where they found about half of my blood volume in my pelvis. And when I kissed my then fiance goodbye, I really thought it was the final goodbye. So I was so grateful to wake up that I just knew I was going to be a doctor and save other people's lives like my own had been saved. So, not surprisingly, I became a surgeon. I went into private practice in Seattle, and my practice quickly evolved into a breast cancer practice. And once I was sort of settled in with my practice, it was time for me to start my family. And I was blessed to get pregnant with in vitro fertilization. I had a great pregnancy, operated my whole pregnancy. And I had a plan. I converted one of my exam rooms to a nursery. My office manager was the mother of four, so I knew he would be in good hands with her. But as my son evolved, it was pretty clear he wasn't like the other kids. And finally, when he got to be almost a year old and he wasn't talking, I pushed my pediatrician for an evaluation, and he was diagnosed with broad spectrum developmental delay.
Ah,
And I thought, what have I done to my son? I operated like my whole pregnancy. He'd been exposed to anesthetic gases. And so I took a leave from my practice to do whatever I could to help my son. He was enrolled in a special state funded school. And I remember one day I was folding laundry, and this lawyer calls me and asks, well, would you be willing to take a look at a case of medical malpractice? And I thought, anything but another load of laundry. So that one case led to another and another. And I've seen scores of how and why medical care goes off track. So when my son was in the special school a year, he was retested and he was booted out because he met all of the developmental landmarks. So it left me with the question, like, what do I do now? I certainly could have gone back to operating, but I thought, how many people have been a patient in a life-threatening situation, a doctor who saves people's lives,
sure.
a family caregiver, somebody who saw where care went off track. And so I had this brilliant idea. I thought, why don't I start a consulting company helping doctors and patients collaborate more effectively to get better medical outcomes? And I was really, really excited about that. But then I struggled and struggled and struggled. And Eric, I once calculated that I've spent more in my sales and marketing training than
Hmm.
literally I did in medical school.
Oh my.
And I remember what I had to offer, it was very clear what my value was, but I just couldn't figure out why are other business people able to do so well and why am I struggling? And I remember going over to Europe. I to speak, I went to plug in my laptop and like I had this light bulb moment. Well, I can't plug my laptop in directly because Europe is wired differently than
Yeah.
the US. I need an adapter to make that happen. And I thought, that is it. I, as a doctor, am wired differently than business-minded people. And if I could only create this adapter, I would be able to really plug in to the people I want to write me checks. And I did, and I did. It completely transformed my life to be able to understand that, Sue, it's people like you, Eric, people who are natives in the land of business are what
Yeah.
are different than people like me, white coats, doctors who help patients. And and the adapter made all of the difference. Okay, so then 2008 rolls around, and you remember that time, right?
I do.
So the doctors in my circles were starting to share with me their stories about, oh my God, am I going to have to file for bankruptcy?
Hmm.
And they really opened up and shared their money stories. And I sort of realized I wasn't the only doctor who didn't do a very good job with money. And you know how sometimes something kind of catches you. And this doctors and money thing, I was just fascinated with it. So I've talked with hundreds and hundreds of doctors about their money stories. And, after a while, patterns start emerging. So, The Myth of the Rich Doctor was really a book about the patterns that I saw. What characterizes the difference between struggling doctors and thriving doctors? Now,
Hmm.
we doctors are very, very fortunate. We get paid very well to do work that we love. And it's really an honor. But the problem is, we're not really taught about money. So, our ability to translate our high income into true wealth, the freedom to
Hmm.
do what we want to do when we want to do it, is not just a problem with one doctor or two doctors or 10 doctors. This is something that's ubiquitous among doctors. We do not do very well with our money.
Right.
And so that really was the origin of the book. I wanted to take away the shame among doctors and really let them know that they are not alone. It's not their fault. And there's a reason that they make the choices that they do, but there is another way.
That is so fascinating. And again, yes, I've worked with doctors now for almost 20 years now in some capacity. And it is something that is out there that doctors I've found that do struggle. And then it sometimes it happens to them even whenever they feel like everything's going well. Codes change, administrations change, so things change happens, and then all of a sudden you throw in a mix with that with a pandemic that we had a few years ago, and boy, howdy, you've got all sorts of stuff that can blow up in a doctor's office. And some
Okay.
practices, I know that when you were not, I mean, because we all went through that together, there were some doctors just completely got out of the business.
Okay, so let me tell you about COVID. Well, first of all, you asked why I came to write this book. So I gave you the answer to that.
Sure.
And I wrote this book, I don't know, 15 years ago, but things have changed in a really dramatic way. We knew that before the pandemic, about half of doctors knew that they were behind in retirement planning. But they thought, well, I've got high earning years ahead of me, so I can catch up. Well, then the pandemic hit. And you remember what those early years of the pandemic were like. Like we didn't know if we would have enough ventilators for all
Right.
the COVID patients. So every time I operated on a breast cancer patient, that woman was on a ventilator, right?
Right.
So hospitals across the United States said, look, our highest priority are the COVID patients. And so we are going to delay all elective cases. And, whether it was a hip replacement in some parts of the US, even a breast cancer operation was considered elective. But here's the deal. These elective cases are the engines that drive profitability
Hmm.
for hospitals and for individual physicians. So the highest earners, like the neurosurgeons, the orthopedic surgeons, they saw their income drop 80 or 90%.
Wow.
The American College of Surgeons sent out an invitation to this webinar that blew me away. It was economic survival strategies in the COVID world. Can you imagine
Yeah.
surgeons
Yeah.
needing to be told like how to manage their money? And so we are now in the midst of this great COVID catch up.
Yeah.
There were doctors who were already behind in retirement planning. Then the
Yes.
pandemic hit, and most doctors were set back even more. And now we are catching up. And there are consequences to this general scene. And the major consequence is physician burnout.
Hmm.
Um, During the height of the pandemic, up to 70% of doctors, 70, reported that they were burned out. They didn't want to
Amazing.
be at work. And that's not the kind of doctor you want taking care of you.
No.
And
Y-
then when these doctors were asked, well, what do you need to turn around the burnout? They said more money. And in the minds of doctors, what that means is I need to see more patients, but I'm already burned out. I don't
Yes.
see
Yeah.
more patients. And so
Vicious cycle.
it's there's this epidemic of despair.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I have a goal for 2025, and that is to give 10,000 doctors more hope. Make them see that there is an exit way. And one of the reasons that I'm so excited to be affiliated with ABS is that they have one of the two keys to turning around burnout, taking a doctor who's thinking, I just want to get out, I just want to sell my practice, and really reconnecting to the joy of medicine. Because here's the deal. Insurance companies will reject about 30% of the claims. I learned this through my
Yep.
relationship with ABS. Now, when I was in practice, I saw that for myself, but my CPA said, don't worry about it. You're such a high earner. You need tax write-offs. So there you go. There's your
Yeah.
automatic tax write-off. But the smart business person would say, listen, why don't I collect what I'm owed and I can figure out other ways of lowering my tax bill? So, probably the single best intervention for these burned out doctors in private practice is to really collect what they are owed. And
Hmm.
and I don't know if you've ever been in the situation where you're so desperate, you're just not real good at looking for
Right.
solutions. And
Right.
quite often, doctors don't even think about this. They don't look here to turn things around, but it is probably the single best thing that doctors in private practice can do.
Yes. And that reminds me of an email that you sent Adam and me just the other day, and I'm gonna pop this up over here. You sent this email with this group MGMA. MGMA is a huge organization whenever it comes to the medical world, and they've got a conference coming up. It's a financial conference, and they've got some folks that are going to be here and expanding your practice, ancillary service, coding optimization, and revenue cycle improvement. Folks, this is happening April of this year. So if you don't think that there's a need for you, well, we've just shown it to you.
Right. And let me just point out there are doctors that are going to be spending money to attend this national conference. They're going to incur travel expenses.
Hmm.
But this is important enough so that they put this on the agenda.
Yes.
Demonstrates the need for this kind of information.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to get back real quickly also to your book there, because you mentioned that there's about 30% of claims that just don't, they just get rejected just because. But then there's another percentage of those claims that you've got here, and you've got it right here. Physicians in private practice walk away from an average of 30% of their incomes when they do not follow up on rejected claims. So these are the claims that you're talking about. They're from the insurance, they just reject these insurance claims for whatever reason, and physicians never go back and get that money.
Right. So, I mean, it's insurance companies don't reject the claims for no particular reason. There's a strategy. This is a little
Sure.
cynical. So,
Yep, yep,
um,
yep.
but if insurance companies can hang on to their money a little longer, they can put their money to work making money. So
Yeah.
they've got a financial incentive for not paying claims. There is a reason that, you know, an insurance company executive was murdered in the streets of New York.
Yes. Yeah. How sad.
Yeah. So this is an intentional strategy.
Yes. Yeah.
And okay, like in my office, it was me, and then I had the front office gal, right? In a lot of doctors' practices, that front office gal is the one who schedules appointments and does the billing. And, imagine that gal trying to go to their doctor employer saying, we've got a real problem here. 30% of our claims are being rejected. No, because that makes her look bad, right? She's wondering, what am I doing wrong? And so not only do doctors not have the ability to fix this, they don't even know what's
You're
going
right.
on.
Yeah. Well,
So
and yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because most people on here, maybe some people are brand new. Sometimes may be just looking into this. I mean, the question always comes up, what about doctors? Don't they already have a billing staff already? Share your story about your own biller that you've had.
thank you. So, oh, put the knife in and dig it a little deeper.
I'm telling you, I know, I know.
All right. So when I came out of residency, I originally joined another surgeon who was in private practice. He had been solo all along, and I joined him, and he had one office person who did everything, right? And including the billing. And I came on board and like I started asking questions. What, how does this all work? And it turns out that she quit. I think she was embezzling from the practice, and she was a little concerned that with my questions, she was going to be revealed, right? And by the way,
Right.
this is something doctors are really, really worried about, theft and fraud. Okay,
Yeah.
so anyway, we decided that, we obviously had to get a new front office gal. But my partner's wife said, how hard could medical billing be? Why don't I just take a couple hours off from my tennis game and come in and do it for you? And it wasn't too long before she said, this is a lot more complicated than I think. You guys need to hire an expert. So um, we had hired a temp while we were looking for a receptionist kind of person. And she was so sweet. She was so nice. She would go out into the waiting room and help the little old ladies fill out their paperwork. And a couple months after she left, we got a call from the temp agency who sent her over.
Sure.
They said, I'm sorry, we got to tell you this, but it turns out that we sent you a convicted felon. She had been committing Medicare fraud. And this was the woman out in the waiting room. And
Yeah.
they said to us, look for irregularities because there's a possibility
Oh
that
my goodness.
she might have gotten in the way. But the truth was, things were like so crazy that how would we ever be able to sort this out? There was a quarter where instead of taking money out of the practice, we had to
Yep.
make an owner investment. So
Yes.
it was nuts. Well, in the meanwhile, I'd actually operated at two hospitals. And one of the hospitals, the second hospital, was setting up this multidisciplinary breast team. I wanted to be a part of that So I broke away from my partner and just set up my private practice. And I'll tell you, the very first thing I decided was I was going to outsource my billing. Like the consequences of getting billing messed up was just too high. You know, if you outsource your billing, you've got to check and balance. You don't have somebody embezzling from you.
Correct. Yeah.
You know that if the your front office gal breaks her leg or she wants to take a vacation or move, and all of these things happen to me, then the cash flow would continue to flow. And I'll tell you, that was the single best thing that I ever did. There were so many benefits. I remember, you know, my outsourced biller bringing in these reports and saying, look, this is where you're most profitable. These are the kinds of patients. These are the kinds of insurance companies that you do really well with. And hey, when you remove the appendix of a Medicaid patient, you're actually
Mm.
losing money because you're not getting paid
Sure.
enough to meet your overhead. So
Yep.
she was really able to help me create a practice that worked for me and was profitable.
You've shared we almost for the last 25 minutes since we've been on, we've kind of kept on the doctor side. And so I think we've kind of established at least some of the issues. And you call it the pain points, and you're calling it more along the lines, I'll put this up here. This is your quote, that really the physician's pain is now your opportunity. You want to let's kind of start transitioning over why is there an opportunity here? Why entrepreneurship? Why American business systems? Why get into medical billing, in the first place? You want to kind of start here and we'll start transitioning and because I want some people to start asking some questions here before we get too far along in the webinar. But let's just start right here.
Okay, so I am a serial entrepreneur. And, you know, I thought, if I build a better mousetrap, they're going to come. And I have invested unwisely multiple times. And so I now have sort of my criteria for deciding, am I going to invest my time and my energy in it? So I want to know, is there a market?
Hmm.
Um, Second, can this market pay for me? Like I created this whole caregiving niche and wrote a book, started an organization. But the thing is, caregivers don't have extra money. So,
Right.
I can serve them, but I can't get paid for serving them.
Sure.
And then the third question is there a path to success? Like
Yeah.
if I found a market, there are buyers. Now, is there a way of actually connecting with the buyers? And one of the reasons that I'm so delighted to come and speak with you is that I think that ABS is just a brilliant business opportunity. Like my ex invested in a UPS store, and it was in an up and coming neighborhood near Microsoft. And he
Mm.
thought this is going to be a slam dunk. But then the development plans were slowed in 2008, and it was not a good investment.
Mm.
But with ABS, there are these doctors. So there's about 1 million practicing physicians in the US, 200,000 practicing dentists. The things that I have described to you, the challenge with financial literacy, with business savvy, with burnout, all of these things are a source of pain. And so we've got a group of buyers, people who will invest in you, and you can genuinely help them. It's not like you have to manufacture this desire for your product or service. Like doctors already want to get squared away with their money, and this is probably the best way to do it. So, yes, there's a big market. Yes, there are buyers who are inspired to make a change. And third, there's a proven path to success. ABS has been doing this a long long
Yeah,
time. I know that licensees take away strategies and tactics that are proven to work.
you bet. One of the things that I want to share with you, and these are something of the things that you and I have talked about in the past, and I wanted to bring this slide back up. And there are three top reasons that you mentioned in the past that I thought it would be good to kind of let everybody know that these three things, you first of all, and you've already hit on all of these. So if you're on here today and you want to take a screenshot of this, folks, take a screenshot of this slide. Now you can get the entire slide deck, but we've been talking off the slide deck off and on. So if you want to get this, you can. But if you want to just grab a screenshot, you can. But Dr. Vicki says that doctors need/want to maintain their autonomy, and the ABS services helps them. So your services actually helps them. One of the things that you mentioned earlier, I didn't want to interrupt you. You were on a roll there, but when doctors are struggling themselves, I found this out sometimes even personally, when a doctor is struggling financially and they're having to uh, they're having to put their own money back into practice, sometimes just to make payroll, or worse, then they go to the bank and get a loan, short-term loan, just to make payroll. What that does actually for the healthcare of that particular community, the healthcare of that community actually goes down because the doctor's so concerned and worried about everything. So this, you being involved in a doctor's role and helping them maintain to stay their own autonomy, keep them above water, and make them profitable again. Folks, what you're going to be able to do is actually bring a better healthcare to your community. I always love to talk about that. You already said that doctors are wired differently. And so, what ABS does here for you, we're going to help you market to doctors because we obviously understand that. And I'm going to share some things here with you about Dr. Rackner and what she'll do for you with this number two of kind of she's a doctor, but she's also become a very smart businesswoman. So she's she's rewired herself to some degree, so she understands both sides of that now. And then number three, Baby S is an organization of integrity. We've been around for over 30 years. So
No, no,
with
I
all,
want to speak to that one because this
okay,
is
go.
really important.
Yes.
So, as you're looking at a business opportunity, your team matters, right? If you're looking around at other business opportunities, undoubtedly the person who wants you to invest with them is going to promise you the moon and the stars. I tend to be a trusting person, and what I have figured out is that not everyone is going to deliver on those promises.
Right.
I remember once I'd met this man, I was doing some consulting work for him. The guy was a sociopath. Like he knew exactly what to say to get me to do things. But when it came to him actually paying me, it never happened.
Yeah.
So, working with an organization of integrity, do these people do what they say that they are going to do? I I don't know how long ago I started working with ABS. It may be over a decade now.
Yeah.
And what I have seen again and again is the commitment to helping the licensees achieve success. I
Hmm.
mean, I have offered a lot of added value to
Hmm.
help support the success of licensees. And, like, I, I'm no Elon Musk or anything, but the thing is, the most influential person in a doctor's life is another doctor.
Yes.
And so the licensees are not just out there on their own. Now they're under my veil of credibility as a doctor. So never once did I hear um, Adam say, well, we're offering this amazing extra value that really puts our licensees in their own class. I think we're going to charge more for that. Never once did they do
No.
that. All of this extras is just part of the package because they are on a mission to support the success of the people who are in the community. And it's something that I really honor. It's something that, quite honestly, I have never seen.
Yeah. There's a lot of things, I've been around in business for a long time. I've seen businesses that are business opportunities, which that's what we are. There are a lot of franchises out there, but not one of them will, and I'll talk about this at the end, but not one of them have I've ever seen give a money back guarantee for 30 days after. So after you purchase, this is one of the things where our former founder and friend started a long time ago. He's always said, I'd rather part as friends than, fight as enemies and try to make you stay. But, he always came up with the opportunity that, look, we want you to go through our entire training, and now it's actually been expanded to a 30-day process for you to review everything that we've talked about here, kind of go through the training, experience everything here, and then 30 days into it, you can say, you know what, if this is not right for me, you can ask for your money back. There's not a franchise or a business opportunity out there that I've ever seen do that. So, plus we've got connections with Dr. Rackner here, and I put this screen up here, guidance on how to market to doctors from our resident physician advisor. So not only do we have the 9 ways doctors let money slip through their fingers that she co-wrote with Adam, but she's also co-wrote a book with our former founder, Patrick Phillips, The New Thriving Medical Practice. That's credibility, because I'll show you here in a moment that your name actually goes on the front of the book as the one that wrote the forward. And then right there in the middle, I kind of got it showcased a little bit. There's a letter there that, as Dr. Rackner said, there's nobody that listens better to another doctor than from another doctor. And that letter can go out on your behalf from Dr. Rackner, introducing your services to those doctors. So there's a lot of things that Dr. Rackner does. Matter of fact, I think, didn't you just do a webinar this last Friday with all of our licensees already?
I did.
Yep.
I did. And this was a flash of brilliance on my part, if I may say so myself. Okay, so I've been the doctor who's hired the office staff, right?
Yes.
So the office staff has an important job. It's to keep their doctor employer happy.
Yes.
And there are 2 ways that they can make a doctor unhappy. The first is letting things through
Hmm.
that I wouldn't want to hear about. But an equally bad mistake is screening something out that I would want to know, right?
Yeah.
So when I was in my practice, I didn't want anything salesy. I just wanted patient care information to get to me. So she wouldn't dare screen out a letter from a physician.
Yes.
So that is why I suggested this campaign. Um, and I will also tell you that people have had remarkable results with this book, sending out this book. So there could be a letter and a book that you send them, but then follow up. And it is a great way of getting past the gatekeeper.
That's correct. Yeah. So many people ask us, well, what does ABS do to help me get in front of doctors? Well, we've just shown you. This is not necessarily a marketing webinar in which I'll be going to be breaking down all the marketing techniques and skills that we're going to teach you and show you how to do this. But this is certainly one of them. So, this is again, there I can't think of any. And you mentioned something earlier that I want to again kind of get back to so I don't forget it. But ABS is a little different than others because we offer a lifetime of support. Obviously, if you need some help from Dr. Rackner, that's there, and it's without any additional cost. Like you said, Adam, brought you on and had you kind of be a part of what we're doing here, helping our brand new business owners kind of get things started. And we didn't go up on the price. And there's a reason for that because folks, through all the different services that we do have, and I'll throw this up here so you can kind of see all the different services that we have, through each of these, you're going to make your money. So if you're doing billing and you're charging, let's say 6, 7%, all that money is your money. Now, the services, the iClaim platform, the EMRX platform, if you're using CodeWrite or Audit Guard or any of the services, you're still making money on those. But those services actually pays ABS pennies on the dollar to utilize those platforms. So it's a win-win situation. So you're making 100% of everything that you're billing to a doctor. And then on the back end, since we brought like the iClaim platform to a doctor's office or through you, we're making a little bit on the back end of that. So whenever you're making money, ABS is making money. So the more of our business owners we can get a new client for, again, instead of you paying ABS, a franchise fee or any royalty fees, you're not having to do that because it's the back end of side of things that where we're making our money there continually there. So that's being upfront and transparent with everybody. If that doesn't make sense to you, you can always get back with your sales rep here at ABS. But I think that we're trying to share everything that ABS is doing for you and why we do it for you, because again, it helps us support our ventures and everything that we're doing with somebody like Dr. Rackner. So all
Okay,
right,
so
yeah, go
Eric,
ahead.
may I interrupt here? So
Yeah,
here you are probably looking at your options, maybe investing in a franchise. Maybe you're thinking, well, gee, why don't I just go out and get certified in
yeah,
coding and like go out on my own? Why invest with ABS? And what I am here to tell you is that I generate a living helping people build business relationships with doctors. This is
yeah.
not a slam dunk. So, not only do you get the deliverables to connect with doctors, you get this adapter so you can plug in to doctors.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
without that, well, you'd get a result just about like the result I'd get trying to charge my laptop in Europe without an
Yeah,
adapter. And so this is a huge value. But here's the deal. Once you know how to do this keeps your competition out.
no doubt.
So you really, you've got people who want and need your help. They're hard to reach, but now you know
Yes.
how to reach them and other people don't. So it's kind of a perfect scenario for you.
You bet. As a matter of fact, I'm going to answer Dottie's question here because it kind of goes along with this, and she has done looks like she's done some things. How is ABS credential different than the CPC or the CCS? I took medical billing and coding, but never sat for the test. I'm also a medical assistant. So, uh, Dottie, here's what I'm going to try to help you understand. This is not a training course for you to become a certified professional coder. Okay. What this is a business. You will be a business owner in medical billing as a revenue cycle management company. We have all these different services that are going to be here to support you. So if you don't, we, Dottie, we've taken people who have never had medical billing experience ever, or even being a medical assistant ever. We've had people that have been architects, sales reps, so many different backgrounds. It's amazing. But we help them actually end up getting clients. And then a lot of times in the beginning, a lot of our business owners, they actually will do the billing in the beginning, but a lot of times their business grows so much that they hire other people to do the work. So folks, understand what I'm trying to do today, Dr. Rackner is trying to do today, is to raise you up a little bit higher than just being a medical biller. Okay, so you are a business owner as a revenue cycle management company, and so we've got folks here that have one or two doctors that they do billing for. We've got some folks here that do billing for over 100 doctors. So this is a bigger thing than just becoming just a medical biller. Okay. And she says, I am an owner of an IT company with my husband. I just wanted to know what the difference was. Okay, there you go. So hopefully I explained that, and it sounds like you got it that way. And she also says booking lunches is a great way to get inside the doctor's offices as well. There's no doubt. Food always talks. There's no doubt. Dr. Reck, we got about 15 minutes left here. I mean, it's amazing how quickly 45 minutes goes. And we try to try to get everything wrapped up here at the top of the hour. So let's kind of see if there's any questions. If folks, I'm going to open it up now. If you have any particular questions that you want to ask Dr. Rackner, now is a perfect time to go ahead and start doing that. But if you want to, Dr. Rackner, until we start getting some questions here, um, if you want to share anything else, and then I'll kind of share if there's any particular questions that actually come in that I can help you answer for us.
Okay. Well, I have listened to people who build relationships based on doctors putting more money in their pocket. So I work with a lot of financial advisors. And
Hmm.
by the way, you will learn about power partners. You will learning about
Yes,
building relationships with people who have lists of doctors. And imagine this, imagine you could work with a financial advisor who works with doctors and you could say to them, hey, do any of your doctors want a way of increasing their cash flow by 25%? They can then take that money and accelerate wealth building. Well, that's a win-win-win, right? So, this idea of building a business relationship with doctors can be intimidating. I mean, we're
yes.
taught all of our lives how we're supposed to behave around doctors. You don't talk. And so, I hear people's really vulnerable side, like, who am I to be able to help a doctor?
Yeah,
This doctor is like so smart. Why? I just barely graduated from college, or maybe I didn't graduate from college. Why
right.
would a doctor want to work with me? And I get it.
Yeah.
And I am here to remind you that chances are very, very good. You know more about business and you know more about how money works than most doctors do. And it's
Hmm.
kind of embarrassing from a doctor's perspective to be so smart and be so dumb about money.
Yes.
So, one of my coaches actually dropped out of high school. This woman is brilliant. I pay her a lot of money every year because she helps get me results.
There you go.
And that's what doctors want. They just need somebody who's going to take them by the hand and say, look, here's a way out. You're really not painted in a corner. You can really get back to the dream. And it's not that hard and it's
That's
not
right.
that complicated.
I got some questions that have come in, but I want to ask you a quick question before I get to these. Obviously, there is another medical billing group out there similar to ours, and sometimes they'll tell their potential people that they're trying to get on there the difference between them, ABS, and them. And one of the things that they say that they do, and this is all about your discussion about having relationships building, the importance of relationship building with doctors. I'm going some here with this. Uh, and but so this other company that's around will tell their franchisees or business owners that they're going to be handed a list of potential doctors that they can call. It's kind of like a target list of people. Now, ABS never does that. We never hand out a list of doctors so that they can start making some phone calls. Um, I can only imagine that if I were in your shoes as a doctor, and let's say that you went online and somehow you put your information, Dr. Vicki Rackner, you wanted some information on potential people that might do outsourced billing. And all of a sudden your phone starts going off the hook. Tell me how that would be for most doctors.
Okay. Well, I'm going to answer this by starting at the end and working backwards.
There you go.
Okay. So When I set out to build my second practice, how did I find that builder? Like I knew I wanted one. How did I
Hmm.
find one? Well, it was pretty simple. I was in the doctor's dining room, I was in the surgeon's lounge, and I asked, "Hey, do you outsource your billing? Who do you use? And are they doing a good job for you? Would you hire them again?" And when the same woman's name kept on coming up again and again, I had
Yeah.
sort of practically decided, even before I hired her, even before I met her. And that's the way that doctors work.
Yeah.
We, there's a lot of people who are financial predators. One
Yeah.
of my colleagues, I hadn't seen her in a while. And I said, "Hey, I haven't seen her. What's going on?" And they said, "You haven't heard? Her office manager embezzled her entire retirement and she went
Yeah.
into clinical depression and she's gone." So
Sure.
doctors are worried, like, can I trust
Yeah.
somebody?
Yeah.
And so your end game is to be this go-to guy or go-to gal among doctors who talk to each other just like I did. The tutorial training that I did with Adam last week was about how to get your first client, right? Because you got
Yeah. Yeah.
that. But your end game is to be the name that people
Yes. Yeah.
pass around.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
So
what you said there about financial predators. And that's the way it appears. And I want everybody to hear what we're talking about here because again, we're being upfront with you. We've been around for long enough for us to for us to be as transparent as we are. We tried that one time where we could say, hey, anybody that wants to become an ABS business owner, there's this list that we purchased for you of a list of doctors' names. And I remember Patrick and we were going through that, and that's the way we felt. We felt like financial predators. We're trying to go after something, and it just didn't feel right. So we dropped that completely to now where it's all about relationship building. Now, folks, again, I'm saying that to kind of set you up for what the topic of the Wednesday's webinar is going to be next week. I'm going to talk with you the strategies, the marketing strategies on building relationships, not just getting clients, but building relationships. And so you're not going to want to miss next Wednesday's webinar on that. So I appreciate you talking about that.
right. And the thing is that, I can tell you 12 ways that you can hire a virtual assistant in the Philippines for $7 an hour and generate your own lists.
Yeah, yeah,
The value of a cold list is limited. As
yeah.
somebody who's helped people build business relationships with doctors for 15 years, I can tell you, like, I get where you want to go, right? And I get why all of these marketing shiny objects seem so attractive. But the thing is, it's important to be asking the right questions and doing the right things, doing this the smart way.
Hmm.
And buying a list is just not the smart way.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. There's some questions here. I'm going to just start talking about them. I'll probably be able to answer those. Uh, Gurvinder, um, you asked the question, how about training? I'm going to answer that on two way. Well, I'm going to just answer it straight way forward, you. Uh, I did a webinar 2 weeks ago um, on training, a very specific. It said, why is ABS training superior? So I'm going to lead you back to that here in a little bit. I'm going to show you where you can go find that webinar, but that's in our YouTube channel. So I'm not going to do that topic in the future, probably not until March or April again. So if you want to learn a little bit about the training through a webinar, go back and find the one on why ABS's training is superior. But if you're just asking about how long it's going to take you, it's going to take you about 2 weeks to kind of get through that training. But if go see the webinar, visit with your sales rep, they'll be able to help you with that. Nick is asking how much paperwork is involved in this process. I don't think there's a lot of paperwork anymore. I think everything's done electronically. I think there might be some doctors that might have some paperwork, Dr. Rackner, or is it mostly mainly everything's electronically medical records at this point?
Pretty much electronically.
Yeah, yeah. There's Nick. There's not that much paperwork. Now I love this question, and before I even answer the question, Rick, get back with your sales rep and ask for Adam's article that he wrote in the BC magazine, one of the ones that I mentioned earlier, because it is on. Let me go pull this up over here. Um, will advancement in AI take over my job as a medical biller or coder? So his question is, AI is going to be replacing a lot of jobs. How will advanced AI affect this business? I'll tell you, all the research that we've done and our services for iClaim and EMRX are already using advanced AI. It's actually helping us code better and get claims processed even better. So, two things there. Get back with your sales rep, ask for the article that Adam wrote. It's a PDF. You can get it from them. You can kind of read on that. Matter of fact, Adam and I did a webinar at the end of last year. We spoke about that information. I think artificial intelligence, I don't know about you, Dr. Rackner, but I think artificial intelligence is really for a biller and even a coder is going to be extremely, extremely good for us.
I would agree. And the thing is that I know a lot of people who are worried about, is AI going to replace me? Am I
Yeah.
obsolete?
Yeah.
And I will just tell you that from my own experience, like I'm ghostwriting a book for one of my clients, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so he's really, really big into AI. And
Yeah.
so he took my manuscript and put it through AI.
Yeah.
And you could tell it was written by AI. There, there's nothing that can really replace the human touch and
Yes.
the relationship business, right? Even there's so many things that ABS licensees help do and provide more value. So, will the actual in the field tasks change? Yes. But my strong belief is that we are in a time where there's an epidemic of loneliness. We
Mm.
need human relationships.
Yeah.
We need to know that we are not alone. And AI is never going to be
Yeah.
able to replace that.
I mean, that's what we've been talking about all along. It's a relationship business. It's never going to go away on that unless doctors become robots. You know? You're
I
kind
have to say, there are doctors who are worried about their jobs, people
sure.
who need EKGs, radiologists.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but there are just things that we humans can do that AI cannot do, at least yet.
Yeah. At least, yeah. Absolutely. Dr. Rackner, thank you for being on with us. I'm going to let you go. I know that you're a busy lady and I appreciate your time. I'm going to wrap up here with about another 2 minutes of just kind of wrap up stuff here. But thank you so much again. I know that I try to get you at least once, if not twice a year on our webinars. And I'm so grateful that the time that you give us. So thank you so very much.
It is my pleasure. Can I have a closing thought?
You bet. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I hope that you really take a serious look at this business opportunity. As I said, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm pitched things all of the time because an accredited investor. And it's not often that the stars all align for a perfect recession-proof market, right? People don't stop
Yes.
going to the doctor when there's a recession. It's not going to be outsourced to India. Like, this is a great business opportunity. And I hope that I've been able to help you understand um, why I say this. I think that you play an important role in the transformation that I want to see among doctors. I
Yes.
want to help more doctors thrive, hence my brand, Thriving Doctors.
That's
So
it.
if you decide to move forward, I will look forward to supporting your success. Eric, thank you for the invitation to be here and share
My
some thoughts.
pleasure. It's always you're always so kind to join me. Thank you so very much.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. All right, folks. I'm going to kind of wrap up here. I've already mentioned earlier that ABS is the only opportunity and franchise out there that gives a 30-day money back guarantee. So you can go check that out on your agreement. It's on page 1. I'll show it to you here in just a moment. But one of the things I want you to do is get a copy of the research guide if you haven't already done that. It's a PDF about 64, 65 pages long. This goes into a lot of detail on each of the different services and how they work, and even some projections there, a little bit of projections that you can review and go over that. And again, it's going to give you some good information to stir up some questions whenever you're talking with your sales rep here at American Business Systems. I've already mentioned earlier about our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/YABS. If you'll go there, and like earlier, someone asked about training. If you want to, just go type in the search bar there on training, and it'll pull up, especially the one I just did about a couple of weeks ago. It literally was 2 weeks ago because Adam and them did it last week. And so it was a week before last that I did it on training. So you're going to want to go see that. There's some other topics out there. If you can't wait until we do the one on marketing, you can certainly go check some of those out. And go check out some of the interviews that we've done, not only with Dr. Wagner, but with some other folks there out there. Check out and visit with some of our current business owners. You're going to want to call these folks here. There are some of these folks that are still, well, all of them are still doing medical billing. They started just like you, so reach out to them and they'll be happy to help you. Schedule a live demonstration. Now, this is something we didn't even really talk about today, but you have an opportunity to see iClaim and EMRX in action. So what you're going to want to do is get back with your sales rep here at American Business Systems. They'll walk you through a demonstration through a Zoom meeting. It won't be closed off to where you can't talk with them. It'll be all open, unlike we are with this webinar. Get the purchase agreement. It's about 5 pages long. Again, it's a link that your sales rep will send to you. On that first page is where you can find the information about the return of the refund policy. So if you want to check that out, get that to your attorney or CPA, whoever your trusted advisor is. And then finally, folks, here's the beginning of the year. You might as well go ahead and get started. It's going to take you about 2 weeks to a month to kind of get finished with that training. So here we are in the middle part, kind of getting just started here, the 5th day of the month already. By the time you get through with this, you can start kicking off some of your marketing campaigns right now. Who knows if you don't end up with a doctor by the March, April of this year. So at least the first quarter of this year, you could possibly actually end up having your first client to kind of get some things started. It's definitely within the second quarter of the year. So go ahead and get your funding in, get your scheduling for the training. And folks, we would love to have you join us here. Now, again, this may not be for everybody. We understand it. You've heard Dr. Rackner say this is a relationship type of business, which means you're going to be engaged with people. You'll hear me talk about that in our marketing webinar that we'll be doing here shortly. But it's all about engagement. It's about engaging with real people, not AI. And it's not going to be over some list that's going to be given to you by some other company. We're really going to teach you how to strategize and how to build these relationships with a whole bunch of people. Give us a call here, 866-565-8413. Info@AB Systems is our email address. Give us a ring, drop us a line here, an email. If you don't know who your rep is, just go ahead and call that number. We'll make sure that we get that for you. Folks, it's been a pleasure to spend the last hour with you. I hope it's been helpful for you. We appreciate all the questions that came in. If you've got any additional questions, get back with your sales rep, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much. Y'all have a great evening. Bye-bye, everybody.